Welcome, everyone, to the First Waves podcast, which is for all of you who would like to further boost your career development and continuously improve day after day. If you want to bring even more value for your company, bet on yourself, and have a great career in the corporate world, this podcast is for you. This episode is sponsored by Wave Business Excellence Footprint, an environmentally friendly online training company that cares about your personal development. Please check our website under www.wave-bef.com. Today, I'm going to share with you the 6 steps to supercharge your career development in the corporate world. These insights don't come from a book or Google or ChatGPT. They come directly from my personal experience in the corporate world. As I reflect on my journey, I will walk you through the steps that help me achieve continuous growth, moving from an employee to a senior consultant and eventually to a senior C-level manager in a large international company. I'm excited to introduce you to the strategies that worked wonders for me. Let's dive in. Hello everyone and welcome to the First Waves podcast. One of the questions I get quite often from my clients, especially if they're not in a management position, is what do I need to do in order to have a great career development? So this I usually hear from the junior employees who start in a company or those who are just embarking into the corporate world and would like to know, what do I need to do to really have a great future in this organization? And I have 6 steps that I would like to cover with you today. Step number 1, the alignment with your manager. One of the first things that you would need to do is to be clear with your manager. What is your vision that you would like to achieve with your career path in this company? It's always important for your manager to know where you stand and what are your goals. So that means that your manager can also plan in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to know what to do with you, how to train you, how to support you in your journey, and at the same time, what can that manager do to sustain their performance levels in that department? Because at some point of time, if you are going to develop to another area, then your manager also needs to know how to cover that transition phase and to find a replacement. Once you have spoken to your manager, what is your short-term, mid-term, and long-term goal in the organization and what would be your wishes and desires of your development, then it's time to create a development plan. Your development plan, of course, also encompasses your training plan. Together with your manager, you would then decide what type of training do I need this year and what's the training that I could plan for next year. And this way, your manager will also have the possibility to see if there's enough budget for specific training. There are a few basic training that I would always recommend everyone who's working in the corporate world. And one of them is called communication and presentation skills training. Another very important training is the emotional intelligence training. This one, it's for you to fine-tune how good are you at emotional intelligence, where you need to improve, and how can you apply it in your daily life and in your business life. Another very important aspect is project management skills, and this one could also include the Lean Six Sigma certification packages. They are Green Belt, Black Belt, Master Black Belt certifications for Lean Six Sigma, and many companies, if you are a large Fortune 500 corporation, they probably already have some type of Lean Six Sigma program in your company. So if you have it or not, it's still very important to get some type of project management training. And this will help you to put your ideas into realization, to put things into action, to be able to generate benefits for your company. And this is something that can be calculated with a return on investment, where your company will know that they have invested on a specific training for you, and you were able then to put theory into practice and create and also complete a successful project. This is something that is not very usual for most employees, and therefore it's something that I can fully recommend for you to do, because this will be a big booster for your career development. In my personal case, the Lean Six Sigma course was the key milestone for me to boost my career development. when I completed my green belt certification, I was able to free up capacity in the operational world where I was working in. And with that freed up capacity, I had more time to do more projects. When I was able to execute on those projects, I was able to free up even more time until at some point I was full-time project manager. And that means that I was able to exit from operational work and enter into the project management world. And this is maybe not the goal for everybody. Not everybody wants to become a project manager. But in case you do like the project management world, then the Lean Six Sigma method is going to be a very good way to go forward and to develop yourself within the organization. I remember my first Greenbelt project. I was able to save about 30,000 euros for the company which I was working for. And that was enough for me to think, well, how much does the company pay for my salary per year? And then I would say, well, that covers a specific percentage of my salary that they are paying for me. So there's a return on investment for the company. And then if I would do a second project, a third project, what would be then the return on investment that the company has on my efforts that I'm doing? So it came to a point that when I was a certified black belt, I was bringing the company about 1 million per year. And therefore, my position of perhaps getting a better compensation package or nicer projects and having the ability to be in front of management so I can present them all of the things that I have done for the company. That is something that is amazing because you can definitely calculate with data and facts what is the return that you're bringing to the organization. They're paying you an amount of X and you are bringing them back another amount of X. So usually it's very important that you can make this calculation so that you can always prove that you are value added for the company. Another important training to do is to know how to facilitate workshops. Some of them call them Kaizen workshops, others just call it workshop facilitation skills. Here you will learn how to do brainstorming, you will learn how to collect ideas, subgroup them, prioritize them, put them into an action plan. And these are the things that almost everybody should know in order to do projects and initiatives in the organization. Another training I can recommend you is the time and stress management training, which is going to make you much more resilient in your day-to-day life. All right, to put this into a summary, you have aligned with your manager what you see for the future, what you would like to achieve for the organization, and you've also now discussed with your manager what type of trainings and skills do you need to develop on. So that would be part one. Part two will be to identify a mentor in the company who can give you advice. You could either have your own manager as your mentor, or if possible, you could even have another person who would be 1 to 2 levels above your manager, who maybe even comes from a different business line in the organization. And that person can then coach you from time to time, can meet with you maybe once a month, or have regular video calls with you in order to find out what are the things that you're doing and how are they aligned with your goal that you have with the organization. Some companies have a mentorship programs and others don't. In case your organization does not have a mentorship program, then do not worry. You can still look for a mentor within your company. Speak even with your manager to see if he or she can recommend you a mentor. Perhaps your manager will say, I would like to be your mentor. In other cases, your manager will say, you know what, I can really recommend you person X from the company because he or she has been here for many years and knows how this company works. So that would be another way on just starting this mentorship, and you do not have to wait until a mentorship program is established by the HR department. Step number 3 will be to build your own branding in the company. You are your own brand, and you can decide whether you are going to enhance your brand within this organization that you're working for, or are you going to have your brand deteriorate. One way how I like looking at the way how I will increase value to the organization is by looking at the Kano model. For some of you who do not know yet what is the Kano model, that is where we have 3 categories. One category is called dissatisfier, which means we need to do all the basics right, because if we do not do the basics right, then a lot of people around us will be very quickly dissatisfied. Here an example could be if you go to a restaurant, a dissatisfier could be when the restaurant does not comply the basics. For example, having clean cutlery, clean tablecloth, clean glass of water, because as soon as that process does not work properly and they have dirty cutlery, dirty tablecloth, dirty glass, then you will be very quickly dissatisfied as a customer. And the same applies for your performance in the organization, because you are providing a service to your company. And when you are not doing the basic work right, then there will be a very quick dissatisfaction with your performance, with your branding. That's why you need to check, what are the things that I'm doing? How am I being measured by my manager? What are the things that I can just get right? Yeah. So if I'm in sales, what do I need to do right in sales? If I'm in marketing, what do I need to do right in marketing? If I'm in operations, how do I need to do the work so it always ends up perfectly fine and there is no need for complaints? So if you're able to do that right, that's the basics. So that's covering the so-called dissatisfier, because if you do not do that right, because it's the basics, then your manager and your team might be very quickly dissatisfied with your performance. So that's why it's called dissatisfier as a category within the Kano model. There's a second category within the Kano model, and it's called satisfier. Satisfier is when you are continuously doing your work better and better, meaning that your manager and your team members will always be more satisfied with your work throughout the year. And if you're there for 2 years or 3 years, then it will continuously be better and better, because you're just getting more skilled. You are making small continuous improvements in the way you do your work, and you're always outperforming and always reaching the target. So that is called the satisfier. We have a third category, and this one is called delighter. Delighter is when something happens out of the ordinary and people raise their eyebrows and say, wow, what you did there, that was amazing. When you go to a specific restaurant and you know that every single time you go there, they're always delivering fantastic food and they're always coming up with new innovative ideas of doing great meals, you with time will be always more satisfied. And that's why the category of satisfier, just like you in time doing always better work in the company. Now, if we think about the delighters, that is where we raise the eyebrows. For example, that you get a specific dish that you did not even expect for free, or you get the drinks on the house. Anything that will make people happy in an unexpected way, because they did not expect something that was going to come on top of the service that they were waiting for. And the same can happen with your performance in the organization. And these delighters are the things that are going to boost your career development very quickly. And why will this be so good for your brand development? Because you, first of all, are doing the basics right. You're always doing your work well. Year after year, you're performing always better. And on top of that, you're adding a delighter, meaning that maybe you did on the side a small greenbelt project, and you were able to do some process improvements where we can now standardize things in a way that the process is running more synchronized, that you have less waiting time. Maybe the customer of that process is feeling more satisfied, or even the employees could be happy with the new process that you have optimized because it's now more standardized. There's less ping pong going back and forth between you and them, and there's just a better flow in the process. So if you can then do this as a delighter, that you can say, look, I have even optimized something in this area with my team, and this is going to save us some time. We can now dedicate ourselves more on the things that are more valuable for our customer, and that you are not having that much overtime like you used to in the past. Then just imagine how happy your team members are going to be if you did a small project and they do not have to do overtime. They do not have to work till 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. They do not have to log into their emails in the weekend, because now you are able to free up some capacity and make the processes around you more efficient, and people do not need to worry about defects happening and correcting those defects. Nobody likes going to work in order to repair things. Nobody wants to go to work to hear complaints from customers or complaints from my colleagues, or doing reminders for other departments and triggering emails that were unnecessary. So all of that, if you are able to do a small project where you can improve this, you improve the environment where you work in, and that's going to be a value add for your team members and for your manager and for the organization. And you can then, through that project documentation, even say, well, what type of benefit did this have? I can measure the financial impact that this project had. Then it's even better. Yeah, so that's the delighters that you can add on the cherry on the cake, where you can say, look, the year has come to an end. I'm having my year-end communication, my year-end appraisal with my manager, and I can show him how I'm doing my work as planned. I'm also adding new skills. I'm doing my work always better. And on top of that, I have done 1 to 2 small projects that has brought the company a measurable result. So that is going to be something that you can always use to further strengthen your branding in the company. In order to do this delighter, you might get some criticism from your colleagues at the beginning. You might even get remarks like, you're crazy. Why are you doing this extra effort for the company if you're not even getting paid extra to do this project or to do this type of improvement or initiative? Do not worry about those comments. This is going to be the booster for your career, and you will see that in the long run, it's going to definitely pay off. Now we come to point number 4, which is something that we already covered earlier very shortly, which is about your value for the company. What is your personal value that you're bringing to this organization? This is like looking at the big puzzle, and to understand what puzzle piece do you have in the organization. For example, if there's a person who is cleaning the room of NASA to get the astronauts into the spaceship, then that person who's doing that cleaning job knows that he or she is helping astronauts getting into space. So they know exactly what's their contribution. They're not the cleaning personnel. They're the ones who enable the astronauts to do their work. Therefore, what is your puzzle piece in the organization, and how can you define the value that it brings to the organization? One of the great things about Lean Six Sigma projects is that you can decide how many projects you want to do per year and what big of a scope these projects should have. How much time do you really want to invest on top of your daily work in order to execute on these projects? And they are all very measurable, because that is the beauty of Lean Six Sigma. You need to have data proven facts that things are working better, and you can also then calculate the cost of poor quality that you have been reducing. You can calculate what's the financial impact that this project brings to the organization, and through that you can then see how much money does the organization pay for my salary, for my compensation package per year, and then you can compare to say, look, I'm doing something either in sales department, I have done so much target achievements in sales, then that brings a certain value to the company, plus the projects that you're doing. If you are in marketing, then you can add what type of marketing benefits have you brought to the organization, plus your projects. So you can add those two together. If you're in operations, you can say, well, I am doing transactions for specific payments in finance. So what type of value does that bring to the organization, plus your projects that you're doing? So no matter where you are in the organization, you can always somehow calculate the value that you bring to them, plus the projects that you're doing for them. Then both of them together will add up to what type of value you bring to the organization. Then you can compare it with your compensation package. How much does the organization pay for me, and how much am I bringing back in return? Always try to be on the plus side, because then there is no need to worry. Most times when there are headcount cuts and there are difficult economic times where organizations need to reduce headcount, then they will see which are the areas of the organization that does not bring that much value at the moment and reduce that while keeping the ones that bring value. So if you know that you can always calculate what's the value you bring for the organization and you can always communicate that to management, you will be most of the time always on the safe side. And when it comes to speaking with your manager once a year regarding your compensation package, you can always show them what are the benefits that you brought to the organization through the work that you were hired to do, plus all of the other things that you have done besides that. For example, the continuous improvement initiatives, maybe the quick wins you have identified, cross-training that you have done with employees, maybe even the projects that you have completed that has brought certain number of financial impact for the organization. When you put all of that together, it's going to be much easier for your manager to apply for extra budget for your compensation package, maybe even for your bonus. So when you come to that conversation with your manager, then it's going to be a much easier position for your side. If you know personally that you are going to be on a negative, that company has paid more for you than what you have given back to the company, then it's going to be a little bit more challenging to be requesting even more in your compensation package. Point number 5, it's all about networking and attitude. And here, this is always my recommendation for my employees in the organization is to get out there, get to know people in the company, and just network. Get to know others, and if you can, do favors for them without expecting anything in return. You just need to be building on your branding, your own branding. Be nice to others, and that is going to come back to you. It's going to optimize your aura. It's going to optimize your karma even. Yeah, because if you do good for others, then something good is going to happen to you as well. 2 final points on the topic of attitude is to be kind with people, because all what we do day to day in our company is dealing with people. It's a people business. So at the end of the day, if you're kind to them, you are building a stronger foundation. You are building a stronger branding for yourself. As you probably have heard, people will not remember you by what you said. They will remember you by how you made them feel. So if you're kind with others and you're doing them favors and you are just a nice person with them, they will remember that. They will know how you made them feel. They will know that you were the person who brought the good side out of them and not the bad side out of them, because everybody has their good and bad side. And depending with whom you are with, certain areas of your personalities come out. So if you are with them and you can always pull out the good things out of people, then they will remember that. And one day, when you become a manager, these people will most likely want to work for you because they know how you make them feel and they know that you are able to bring the best out of them. The final point under attitude will be not to complain. People do not like to be around people who complain, unless you are around those who also love to complain. Then, of course, the two of you are going to be a great match. Then you can just complain together about everything that's happening. But if you do not complain, then you will have an energetic match with those who also do not complain. And those are usually the people who are the performers in the organization. And those are the ones who look at the problem, think about what's happening, go to the root cause and find right away the solutions instead of complaining about the status quo. So that's the type of mindset that you should get in order to move forward. Do not complain, look at the issues, know that there are things that can be done better, find the root causes and solve them. And now we have come to the final point, which is point number 6, and it has to do about quantum physics and neuroscience. It sounds a bit complicated, but I'm going to put it very simple into a nutshell. Step 1, look for a role model who you identify yourself with in the organization or outside of the organization. It could be perhaps somebody you read about in a book, or it could be about a senior manager in your company. All you need to do is to find who that person is. Who do you find that match to say, well, their management style really links to how you would like to do it someday when you become a manager? So you would analyze and see, how do they speak? How do they move? How do they reply to questions? How do they act in stressy situations? How did they present their presentation to the other senior managers? All of that should be then observed from your side, and you should be recording. You should be recording that and just saying, what are the things that I would like to adapt for myself and learn? And what are the things that I would just do differently? Once you have found that template, that blueprint of a very interesting manager who you think that could be a model for the way how you would like to do your management style someday, then that is the first step. Second step will be to strengthen your relationship and connection with your future self in your future role. So you need to look at what is the direction you want to go, what you want to achieve in the organization, and then you need to feel it. You need to feel as if you are already living in that situation, that you're already a specific manager, that you are taking over a specific responsibility, maybe even managing a team. And you should then envision yourself, how is this even happening? How am I feeling by doing this? And that's how you are going to attract that future role and that future self towards you. You are going to start rehearsing that in your mind, and you will be then convincing your body that it's already happening. And this is going to just make that whole situation of the way how you think, the way how you act, and the way how you feel going to change step by step, because you always have that vision of what is it that you're going to be doing in the future in this company. And if you want to be a senior manager, then you got to already act today as a senior manager. You cannot act like a person who is just complaining about things, not solving problems, and speaking with other employees about all the things that are going wrong in the organization. A senior manager would not do that. So you need to think, what would a senior manager do? Should I then start looking for a solution? With whom do I need to speak with? How would I come up with that idea to come up with the best solutions? Do I need to create a meeting to get some people together so we can together brainstorm and find out how are we going to solve that? So all of that is just changing the way how you think about your current situation, and it's just going to trigger the way how you're going to have your future personality when you become that manager, when you become that team leader or department head or senior manager. And therefore, you would have to ask yourself the question, how would it be like? How would it feel like to be that manager? How would it feel like to be in the board of directors? And the answers to that questions will come little by little. You do not have to expect the answer to come right away. But if you constantly think about that and you think there is a possibility out there that I will become someday department head or middle manager or a senior manager, then you will start changing the way how you think, which will change the way how you will decide on things, which will change then the way how you're going to act. And if you change the way how you act, it's going to change the way how you feel. And if you change the way how you feel, it's going to become your personality. And now that you have this new personality, people are going to see you already as their manager, even before you have become their manager. Okay, now we have come to the end of this episode, and I hope I have packed a couple of things for you to consider for your career development in the corporate world to become someday a team leader, department head, middle manager, perhaps senior manager in the future. So I'm going to make a quick summary of what we covered today. Point number one will be to do the alignment with your manager, so he or she knows what are your goals and what are your aspirations in the corporate world. Then you should create an action plan in order to define what are the things that you should do in the organization in order to get there, and what would be the timeline roundabout, just to have an idea, and also the training plan for this year and for next year so that you can acquire those skills that you need in order to get there. Point number two, identify a mentor in the company who you can receive regular advice from. Point number three will be to continue strengthening your own brand within the company and to perhaps take the Kano model in order to categorize what are the dissatisfiers, satisfiers, and delighters of your own performance for the company. And point number four, always calculate your value in the company. What is your contribution to the big puzzle and what is the return on investment? Point number five will be networking and your attitude. And point number six is all about quantum physics and neuroscience, where you will attract that future self towards you by envisioning what is it like to become a manager, what is it like to develop yourself in the corporate world and to arrive to that vision that you have. I hope you have had a couple good learning nuggets from this episode, and in case you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'm confident that when you apply some of these tips and tricks that we covered today, you will already be on the path towards success in your career development. I hope you took some learning nuggets out of this episode. Please look at the online courses offered by Wave Business Excellence Footprint, where you will find the top Lean certification and Six Sigma certifications that are directly linked to an increase of your market value and also brings a financial benefit for your manager, because during your certification period, you will be solving real business issues. Please rate, subscribe, and send in your comments and share with those who you think could profit from this episode. It's very much appreciated, and I'm grateful for your messages. I'm also a work in progress and strive to do things better every day. This podcast is sponsored by Wave Business Excellence Footprint, where we believe that investing in yourself is the best investment you can make. On the website www.wave-bef.com, you will find courses that are designed for managers and for employees who strive to become better every day. If you do not have yet a Lean Six Sigma certification, then you will find an outstanding certification program with Wave. On the other hand, in case you already have a certification, we have other courses that will further enhance your skills. On the website, look under the tab called Courses for Employees to see what course resonates best with you. All of these courses are designed to take you to the next career development level. Thank you, stay tuned, and see you in the next episode of First Waves.